I would like to move a little bit closer to our next speaker, who is going to be Natalie Taylor. I have already made a short announcement about her speech before the break. She is going to speak about the e-learning metrics and results, how to measure success. She is a senior e-learning consultant in iSpring Solutions. And just as John Siegel, who was our first speaker, our front man today, she's going to be definitely speaking a lot about iSpring solutions. And of course, she will be able to answer the questions that you were asking, John, but maybe didn't have a chance to be heard or ask the question already when we were finishing the session with John. So it's just a good time for everyone to ask the questions to Natalie. So she used to talk about empathy and compassion, corporate training with iSpring Learn and iSpring Suite, and its benefits, and blended learning and time management. And this time she's going to be speaking about e-learning metrics and results. And before we connect with Natalie, I would like to just double check your emotional status. So you are stressed, hungry, calm, tired, super tired, 3 exclamation marks. Good, just ordered my dinner, which probably means you're not going to be hungry anymore very soon. Tired, talking it all in, but ready to continue. Okay. All right, energized, overwhelmed, tired, but excited and intrigued. I really like this kind of approach. When you are intrigued and when you are tired but excited, I promise you this is going to be an exciting session. So I would just like to ask Natalie if she hears me. How is she doing? Natalie, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Chris. How about yourself?
Well, tired but excited, I would say, and intrigued. Really looking forward to hearing your presentation. So whenever you're ready, go ahead.
I'm ready, sure. Just want to say hi, everyone. And once again, hi, Chris. I'm so happy to see all of you with us today. During the session, I will be asking you a few questions, and I'll be happy if you can just actively participate in these kind of activities. The first question, folks, I'm really curious, where are you joining us from? Just text us your location in the chat. It would be great to know the geographical demographics of the session. And while you're doing this, I'll quickly go through the agenda. The fact that you've joined this session tells me one thing, that you are eager to know how to measure success of your training and e-learning initiatives. So today we will talk about training program effectiveness and metrics. We will learn how to measure the success of training programs. We will also cover the topic like why saving money on corporate training is not the ultimate goal. And we will also learn how to identify issues in business processes with e-learning analytics. In the meantime, Chris, what about the geographical demographics?
I'm so sorry. We have really a lot of very different locations, but mostly in the USA. We've got one colleague working from Kuwait, and the rest are joining us from different states across the US, Minnesota, from Texas, Atlanta, Michigan, Virginia, and look at that. We have people from Lebanon in the Middle East, Bishkek on the way to Almaty, Kazakhstan, and Romania as well, apart from the USA. That sounds like a nice, very diverse geography to me.
Whoa, this is the first time that we're enjoying such a worldwide geography. This time we're truly going global. All right. I guess we can start. Every company decides to launch e-learning sooner or later, and in some companies, both online and offline training already exist, but they are not coordinated with each other. In others, there is no training system at all, and you need to create everything from scratch. I mean, they do have training, they train in place somehow, but you know, it's not structured and too sporadic. In any case, we usually have CAS in the beginning, and that's totally fine. I mean, why not? So now the next question to you, dear audience. Is there anybody who launched eLearning and faced no roadblocks?
Wow.
We'll see a poll in the chat. Just reply yes or no. If yes, of course, you're a genius. So you will see a poll with the reply options. You have ever launched eLearning and faced no roadblocks? Click yes. If you experienced some roadblocks, click no and share your experience. So thank you.
That would be lovely to hear the actual comments, right? Like the opinions, not just the yes or no, but the comments are more than welcome.
Definitely. There is no doubt that it's a challenging initiative for launching eLearning, and a lot depends on your previous relevant experience. If you're on your own, working in a team of passionate people, so many factors come into play. In the meantime, Chris, what's going on in the chat? Do we have any responses?
Oh, absolutely. We do have quite a lot already. We have 87% who say no and 11% who say yes. So I'm very impressed, to be honest. But no explanations so far.
No explanations?
Only votes so far. I think we need a little more time to see, because probably somebody's writing their essays about their experience.
Maybe.
Who knows? Takes a little longer.
All right, then this is really exciting, actually. We are also different, working in different companies and industries. Anyways, thank you for sharing your experience with us. And if we have more comments in the chat, we will just come back.
We have John from Sydney, Australia, asking us to please define roadblocks.
Challenges, issues, like anything, problems, let's say so.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense, John?
Let's see, John, I hope it helps. We are being quite generic in this question, I believe. So it's all right.
So shall I continue? All right.
Yeah, I do think so. We only have a couple of comments now about the limited budget, which was the probably biggest roadblock so far.
Yeah.
And wanted to also comment that it was an issue to stay focused during the launch of eLearning.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, then, thank you once again. Getting back to the session, the first thing I'd like to talk about is how to measure training effectiveness. How actually can we understand that training has been effective, that it's achieved its initial goals? When you conduct training in your company, you expect to increase employee performance, you expect to reduce turnover, and enhance business overall. But how can you measure success in corporate training? Did your employees learn what they were supposed to learn? Did they apply the new knowledge on the job? And finally, was this training worth your company's investment? Big questions. And to answer them, you need to know how to measure training effectiveness. But what is this? Training effectiveness, by the way, I like this description of the term, it is a measure of the degree that learning improves employee performance. How your team members enhance their sales and communication skills, increase their productivity, or met a business goal. To measure training effectiveness, you can use training evaluation metrics. So let's take a look at what they are and how they can help you with online training in your company. So a training metric is a quantifiable measure used to track and assess the results of the training process. Training metrics can be used to evaluate different aspects of learning. So you can track test scores, you can track time spent on each activity, and how many attempts each learner needed to achieve a passing score. But ultimately, all of them are aimed at assessing the effectiveness of the training. Let's take a look at some examples of training metrics. But Before we move on, I'd like to ask you another question, like a tricky question. What is the most frequently used training metric in your company? Just feel free to share your experience with us in the chat. Name at least one training metric. This is going to be fine. And while you're texting us, I'll go through the starter pack I have, because there are actually quite a lot of training effectiveness metrics out there, and I'm sure you will share some that are not on my list. So my starter pack includes pass or fail rate. It usually applies to surveys and quizzes and their successful completion. Then I have scoring on my list. It usually helps you estimate learners' performance and adjust the difficulty of a quiz, if needed, of course. And here's my favorite one, training experience satisfaction, which actually identifies how learners perceive training and what requires improvement. I think it's vital to get such feedback, really. You can have, let's say, post-training evaluation service or tests for knowledge assessment, but it has to be there, really. Then we also have training completion rate, which shows the number of learners who finished the course. And besides training completion rate, we also have a learning dropout rate. It shows the number of people who didn't complete the course or just decided to put it aside. This can actually indicate problems with the content or some technical issues like, I don't know, browser compatibility. Another training metric from my list is like post-training performance. It shows the effectiveness of training and how employee performance has improved, like an increase in work efficiency, number of calls, client contacts, sales maybe. And of course, the last but not least is, and a very important metric is a return on investment. This is the so-called ROI, or again, return on investment. It usually compares the financial value, not usually, but always compares the financial value of the learning outcomes against the investment you made to achieve those results. This is quite easy to calculate it. You can see the formula on this slide. Yeah, I hope you can see it. Chris, okay, I asked a question about the most frequently used metrics in companies. So what responses do I have? Any other metrics?
I'm going to read out for you all the responses that I've received because the time permits that. And you will be able to make your own judgment about the frequency of the ones that are used. So these were completion rate, pre and post assessment, completion rate and after training assessment, completion rate again, engagement, training experience and satisfaction, and that seems to be it.
Training experience and satisfaction. Thank you for that. Thank you, the person that left this comment.
It was David.
Oh, thank you, David. Okay. Moving on. Another question to you. I told you that I'm going to ask you a few questions. So the next one is, all right, we have metrics defined, like what metrics to be applied in your organization, but does anyone know how to choose the appropriate metrics for your training? Do you have any tips and tricks? Again, just text us in the chat. You know, I think it's a good question because there are a lot of different training metrics out there, like I said, but how can you understand that this particular training metric is an appropriate one and it suits your needs? And while you are texting us, I will just continue. With what I think about this. There are several criteria that actually help you recognize the appropriate metrics for assessing your training. And one of them is like proper metrics. They usually highlight pain points and what employees are struggling with. Again, if you don't experience any issues with the training completion rate, don't measure it. Like, it's obvious. And another thing is that you can validate these learning metrics and identify the impact of training on employee and business performance. If you include them in the job performance assessment, they will motivate people and drive the business forward, because only motivated employees and leaders drive the business. This is the key. So employee performance metrics should be objective and quantifiable, of course. Chris, do we have any tips and tricks in the chat?
Yes, we do have several answers, and don't forget, I'm always with you whenever you need me. So I think we had an interesting comment from Juventus, who said that basically the answer to your question depends on the content and type of training. And I think this was a valid comment. And apart from that, we also received a comment from Anna saying that analytics are included in the LMS we use. We also use Zoom surveys after our webinars and trainings. And then a comment from Celine, depending on the general learning objectives of the courseware. Angela mentioned that it depends on the size of the initiative, compliance training versus new product, etc. And David, who's our very, very diligent attendee, who's answering almost all the questions. And again, we thank you so much, David, for your support. He said that it isn't choosing the proper metrics picked after doing a goal analysis or recognizing the needs of the client or organization.
Nice, thank you so much. That's interesting. I should consider it like after the session, I think, yeah. All right, moving on. To understand which metrics will be particularly relevant for training in your company, like, just want to add my comments and my opinion to this, let's say, topic. I just want to share with you 2 steps that I would recommend following. Like, the first step is like asking what stakeholders need. So how to choose appropriate metrics. Just ask the stakeholders what they need. So to lay out the training evaluation strategy, first reconcile the expected metrics with key stakeholders. What do they consider the most important indicators? What will be the priorities for the assessment? Just keep them informed along the way and communicate your vision of the training results clearly. These kind of intercommunication is really important. The second step that I would recommend doing is like keep track of departments. What does this mean? If your company is large or has more than one department, it will be necessary to track how well different departments perform and what factors impact the performance. You should track if they enroll in a course, if they complete it, and how many overdue assignments they have. In eLearning, usually an LMS can help you with that. It will track and organize the stats on the course that was assigned, that was taken and completed with the metric called department group progress. Usually it is called this way. So to set yourself up for training for success, you need to have department heads realize the importance of training. Let them know about training objectives and how they can improve group performance. And your training goals should always align with business goals. Accompanying departments, they are small business units within one organization. And even HR and L&D departments, they are separate business units that basically serve other units and help the entire organization grow. It's a high level of responsibility, really. All right. Actually, I have an example for you. Let's say that we have a business goal. In Q4, the sales team will close 15% more deals than were closed in Q3. This is the business goal. Then we have, based on this business goal, we have a training program goal. In Q3, each employee who is an element of the sales team will finish 3 courses to learn the latest trends in sales techniques and complete the knowledge assessment quiz with a 90% pass rate. So this was a training program goal. And now we have a learning objective. So we have 3 courses, and we are to have at least 3 learning objectives. By the end, one of them is that by the end of this course, sales team will be able to conduct a successful meetings with clients. So this is the learning objective, at least one of them. Actually, this example showcases how you can link the KPI you want your training to impact to the business goal. Close 15% more deals than last quarter. The training program, The training program goal is the qualitative goal of the entire training initiative, that is, educate salespeople. And the learning objective is like to make salespeople more successful in communication with clients. And of course, all goals should correlate with each other and follow the SMART approach. I'm not going to focus on the SMART setting goal approach. I'm sure you all know that, and it was covered during the first session today. So let's just skip this one. So, all right, now we have goals and expectations for the training program formulated. We have training effectiveness metrics chosen, and we have finally decided to launch e-learning. But how can we actually measure success? To do this, when implementing e-learning, we recommend doing 3 main things. The first, perform a training audit in the company. The second, from 3 to 6 months later, we calibrate the training system. And third, from 12 to 18 months later, we track the effectiveness of the e-learning. So these are the steps that we recommend following. And first, let's talk about the learning audit in more detail. This is basically helps you analyze the current state of learning in an organization. A learning audit is a systematic review of a learning program to determine the program's strengths and weaknesses with the aim of guiding subsequent improvements of that learning program. An audit of the training department helps you find out what is working well and what is not working. And at this stage, we understand what steps need to be taken to change the situation for the better. Just consider this example. Let's say company F sells chairs, and a new chair appears in the collection every 2 months. Besides that, the company has 1,500 salespeople who need to be promptly informed about all new products. And the audit identified the following issues. So the first one, the learning process in the company was unstructured. There was a lack of resources. I mean, corporate training managers, HR managers, mentors, because the learning itself, it was chaotic and usually came from more experienced people, employees, all the way to less experienced. And the third issue that was identified is that a lot of time was spent on certification because certification results were checked manually. So it was really time consuming. And to solve the issues that have been identified, a step-by-step guide was created. It was recommended going to the model of compulsory basic training, where learning materials for beginners are collected in one place and can be assessed at any time. It was recommended making it more structured so that employees can easily navigate the learning materials when they want and when they need. And of course, after developing and implementing the basic training model, it was recommended reallocating these training resources. I mean, HR managers, corporate training managers, just assign them with other duties. Those managers who previously were involved in training. And the third step just transfer the certification process to a test format. In this case, all test results, they are automatically calculated by the system, and certificates are issued automatically as well. So most of the problems identified during the audit were solved by launching an LMS, and the other issues were resolved as they went along. All right. Okay. And since we are talking about the learning audit, like a first step, I'd like to let you know that iSpring also offers this service. We have recently launched the free training program checkup. And basically all you need to do is to answer 14 simple questions. We will share with you some practical recommendations on how to take a new look at the better numbers for your business. We work on it with a team of L&D and HR experts and try to make it as simple as possible, but valuable. I'm not advertising this, it's just that I'm talking about e-learning metrics and how to measure success today, and the training program checkup is my project. So just in case you're interested in such a quick and free checkup and you don't use any iSpring products yet, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can see the QR code on your screens, and if you scan it, you will be directed to my LinkedIn profile. Just shoot me a message and I'll be happy to help. So I hope you can see the QR code on your screens. Let me just wait for a couple of seconds so that you have time to scan it. All right. Okay, moving on. So the first step was the learning audit. Then we are to calibrate the training system. During the audit, we got rid of everything that didn't work and launched an LMS. But you know, it's too early to think about the financial return on investment at this point. So during the first 3 to 6 months, it's important to calibrate the training system, to understand who our end user is and what they need. Otherwise, you can miss and not achieve the desired results. One of the frequent practices is the introduction of distance learning for a specific department. Let's say the sales department. The goal was to create content for sales reps to increase sales. That company created a training program, that company F that sells chairs. They created a training program consisting of many micro courses. And after 3 months, do you know what happened? Feedback came in. The training didn't work. Folks, did you see what the problem was? Like, if yes, just share your guess with us in the chat. If you didn't, just text us no. I'm going to repeat the question right now because I don't think that the answer is obvious. A new training program, a new training system was launched. The company created many micro courses for a specific department, for a sales department. And this new training system has been calibrated like during 3 months. And it happened that it didn't work, so no results. Not bad, not good, nothing, just like a waste of time. And I'm curious if you see what the problem was.
While we are waiting for the results and the guesses of our dear audience, a kind reminder, provide your guess, maybe even a wild guess in the chat. And if you don't have any guess, just be honest. Let's say, no, I don't. I'm tired and hungry and I've got no idea. Go ahead, Natalie, share your actual answer with us. Maybe I can share my own guess, Natalie.
Okay.
Yeah, I was wondering if maybe that could be the lack of learning habit. So maybe the company employees were not in the habit of learning, that be micro courses or regular courses. It was just not something that they have already experienced earlier. That's why with zero habit, it's really hard to get started.
Okay, I get you. No, that's not the right answer. I'm sorry, Chris.
Okay. No, it's all right.
Do we have any other responses yet?
Not at the moment, because I believe it might take a little longer time for the audience to answer this kind of question. So it feels like maybe they're texting us or making, I don't know, writing an essay or something, perhaps.
Let me just repeat the question once again quickly. So after 3 months, during 3 months, the new training system has been calibrated. It has been verified, and the training system was consisted of many micro courses, and it appeared that this kind of training didn't work. The company didn't get any results, just nothing.
Okay.
And I'm curious why.
Let me share some of the suggestions that were now on the chat. They appeared finally. Javanta says it was a new LMS. Matthew shares that it was reinforcement. Then let me see. Anna is curious and she's saying, was it the timing of the follow-up? Andrea shares the lack of communication. Sarah Jo says it's too many micro trainings. Matthew clarifies that it's reinforcement and accountability. Ali Muhammad says, what about those who do not, an extra comment here. Let me see. Too many short trainings, no due dates or incentives, or users being new to software, not having bucket or behavior change. That was Emily. And Nathan believes that there was no assessment strategy tied into the course. Wow, we've got many more options. So I think, Natalie, we need to stop at some point and stop receiving the answers and just proceed and actually tell what kind of an answer there is. I feel like you could have written the detective stories of Agatha Christie.
Okay, let me tell you the reason. Actually, it turned out that the company had several sales departments with different backgrounds. So there was a call center in which many inexperienced newcomers worked, and there was a division of seasoned superhero salespeople who worked with large customers, and basically they knew the product inside and out. So the micro courses that were created turned out to be somewhere on the middle level, and therefore they didn't work. Later, they realized that each division needed to package content in its own way in order to benefit from the new training system. So that is the answer. Okay. Based on this example, I'd like to share with you some things to consider when evaluating and calibrating training in the short term. The first thing is hot topics. It's important to identify the aspects of work that are, like sinking, and create courses that help increase results in those areas. We should also think of the benefit for the employee. It's possible to judge how useful training is for an employee by their performance. You can listen to their calls or read customer reviews. And if we talk about skills training, you can conduct a post-training evaluation and ask employees what they learned from the training. Another thing is employee preferences. For example, someone doesn't like to watch videos, while others find it difficult to digest information that they hear. And to understand what format employees like, you can conduct surveys and quizzes, so to find out exactly what they expect from training. And after the launch, you also need to collect feedback, and if possible, make changes to the content, of course. And here comes, again, my favorite one. Just another thing to consider, just try to draw a portrait of an employee. Just try to describe a typical employee in your company. It's vital to know your users in order to speak the same language. If you communicate with adults 40 plus or 50 plus in the language of teenagers, they are unlikely to understand such content, really. And of course, we should consider first results. It's not about knowledge assessment, but about statistics. Let's say we created very easy quizzes and employees could have, so all employees could have a 100% pass rate. That's not good. And it means only one thing, that we should make quizzes more complicated. In addition, in the first months, we look at how many users logged into the system in general, how much time they spent on your courses, and what topics were the hottest.
Speaking of time, Natalie, I'd like to jump in here just for a second, saying that we've got about 23 minutes left until the end of the session, which means that we will need to leave some time for questions and answers. So just wanted you to be mindful about that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chris. We're actually coming to the toughest part of the session, evaluating the effectiveness of the learning initiative. Why am I saying that this is the toughest part? Just, dear audience, just text us quickly any suggestions. Why am I saying that this is the toughest part? So we performed a learning audit. We calibrated the training system, and now we need to measure the training and evaluate training effectiveness. So do you also think that this is the toughest part? Like, in my opinion, it's the toughest thing to do, but you can disagree with me, and I'd love to change my mind and say, come on, it's easy. It's very important to analyze the effectiveness of learning strategies to show that it is producing value for the company. Like, do we have any responses yet? Not yet.
Not there yet. What do you say if I suggest maybe we could proceed and by doing so, save time? I'm sure the participants will enjoy answering the questions. They always do. Maybe we could still continue at that point of time.
Okay, let's continue. I'm saying it is difficult to evaluate how much the launch of e-learning has affected the business, since many factors come into play. The economic situation, the customers' welfare, and let's say the seasonality, but there are some ways to understand if your business made good use of e-learning. And one of the ways is optimization of company processes through e-learning. If e-learning helps speed up processes in the company, this is quite a measurable result. Employees have lots of questions about the CRM system, and with e-learning, you can package frequently asked questions into a series of micro courses, and as a result, employees will be able to find answers to their questions quickly. In this case, the practical value of an LMS for employees increases. They will constantly use the system in their work because they know that it is faster for them to find answers rather than, just searching on the internet or asking colleagues. And the second way is to make an analysis of specific reports and metrics. It's challenging to identify direct correlation between training and profit, but we can track some specific metrics that have been increased as a result of the e-learning launch. Just a quick example. A company is dissatisfied with the performance of the call center. They are constantly getting bad reviews, and employees close only 40% of transactions. And after analyzing the calls, they see that the sales team don't actually know the product well. And therefore, they develop a product training specifically for call center agents. And after training, the close rate doubles. So in this case, we can say that the training directly affected sales KPIs, right? You can also consider using the Kirkpatrick model to measure training effectiveness. Maybe you know, but it has 4 levels: reaction, learning, behavior, and results. Chris, do you have just 2 more minutes to cover this part?
Just want to be sure that we finish by, let's say we finish in 4 minutes to make sure we leave time for questions and answers.
Sure, absolutely. Just want to briefly cover the Kirkpatrick model, how you can just implement it in an LMS. So the first level is reaction. This is aimed at defining how learners feel about the training. Again, you can use online polls and feedback forms, and you can use these kind of questions like how much new information did you receive, were you engaged with the content? And I will say an LMS can help measure success on this level because it allows to carry out reaction surveys and get user feedback that can be actually tracked right on the platform. Very easy. Then the second level, learning. At this level, you evaluate the increase in knowledge, increase in skills and attitudes after the training has been completed. Again, you can use online quizzes, you can use real or simulated tasks, and with an LMS, you can actually track progress because it usually allows to see a breakdown of completion rates, of score results, and attempts and answers. The third level is behavior. This is aimed at evaluating how the training has influenced your employees' performance. In other words, if they apply the new knowledge in the workplace. Again, you can use surveys and quizzes and interviews with mentors and put this all into your LMS account. And last but not least, fourth level, results. This actually brings us back to the business goals for the training set in the beginning. So if your goal was to reduce employee turnover, to reduce training costs, you can measure it, right? So just to sum up, appropriate initial actions at the start are the key to a successful launch of eLearning. Here are the key actions that need to be carried out in the first year that eLearning is being implemented. So the first action is perform an existing training system audit. This way we identify the gaps. Then set goals for eLearning based on the results of the audit. Then implement eLearning, actual implementation with development tools, with an LMS. Then we need to verify the effectiveness of the training program based on feedback from employees. And finally, we evaluate the effectiveness of the training in the context of business development and optimization of existing processes. This was just a brief summary of the session. I think we're ready to start the Q&A session. I'll be happy to answer your questions. So, Chris, do we have any so far?
We do several, and I welcome dear colleagues and attendees to please share their questions in the chat box. Natalie, thank you very much for going through so many informative slides with us. I know it's not easy to shoehorn a lot of information into such a packed period of time, so my appreciation to all the effort taken. Let's begin. Ready to go for the questions?
I am.
Yeah, well, we have a comment slash a question, but I would say a comment that I think would be nice if you could react to that from Abraham, who says that he uses or they use the Kirkpatrick model. However, the client is not always cooperative in order to acquire all the information they need. So I was just wondering if maybe you could comment on this situation and give your piece of advice about that.
That's interesting. So this Kirkpatrick model is used for client training or what? I didn't follow this.
Yeah, I guess perhaps Abraham could clarify more, but I believe that Abraham might be developing a course for a corporate client, and the corporate client is not exactly always cooperative in terms of providing the necessary data.
Well, clients are always right. So I guess we have to deal with this. Yeah, but this is like a deep philosophical question, I say. Yeah. Just try to make a meeting, to arrange a meeting with your client and make them understand that you are trying to make something better for them.
Mm-hmm.
So you are trying to contribute to their to their staff development, so how they use this kind of training. I don't know. So I think to arrange a meeting, this is the first step to take, just to explain why you are in need of this meeting.
To show them your presentation, Natalie, by this link and explain the benefits of the Kirkpatrick model, right? Yes.
Maybe.
Okay. Like, we've had quite a discussion in the chat regarding the surveys. So I see different participants are giving different comments about surveys being elective or non-elective, how they actually can help assessment. So I'd like you to please answer a question. If the environment or culture is less than optimum, how can we be sure about the survey feedback? Asks John.
How can we be sure about the service feedback?
The survey feedback.
The survey feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would need a clarification on this question because I don't think I'm following it.
Sure. Okay. It feels like perhaps the environment or culture in the company might be a bit toxic, or feels like it's just not exactly open and transparent. It's just my guess, but John maybe will be able to clarify. Let's take the couple of other questions then while we're waiting for John's clarification, right?
Mm-hmm.
After we have the results from the matrix, how would you measure the progress, say from 2 or 3 months after the initial training?
So it depends on your initial goals.
Mm-hmm.
We have defined training metrics, right?
Mm-hmm.
3 to 6 months passed, and we are to understand where we are at this moment, right? Mm-hmm. We should take into consideration the initial goal. Again, to think of a business goal that was at the very beginning of your initiative, to look at training system goals, training program goals, and just try to correlate them.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thank you, Natalie. John is clarifying. It's that he's saying we are not sure that people are being honest. So how can we be sure about the survey's feedback?
I think this is all about the company's values.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is, it relates to the onboarding training. So how you onboard your employees. If you feel like your employees are not, like they are not saying the truth, they are not
Mm-hmm.
saying how they feel, how they really feel, I would say that this is the onboarding issue, the onboarding
Mm-hmm.
training issue, really,
Mm-hmm.
because they don't get the company value, or you don't bring the company value to them in a correct way.
Okay.
So again, this is my wild guess, and yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Totally. Maybe the question is not exactly relevant, but let me give it a try. And if it's not up to your expertise, maybe you will forward it to some of your colleagues or recommend whom to contact in iSpring. Mm-hmm. The question is all about the assessment models. So the question is, have you used another type of assessment models outside of Kirkpatrick, says Nathan? If so, which ones?
There are plenty of them, really. I even have a link with a list of different evaluation models. If you want, I can share it with you. But yeah, this was my recommendations, and these were my recommendations. And I was talking about the Kirkpatrick model. But yeah, I can share this information with you if needed, or you can just Google it.
Oh, no, I'm sure that people would appreciate your personally tailored list of preferred models or preferred sources. So we'll be very happy if you could do that after the streaming, of course, and after you relax a little bit. Was indeed a challenging type of thing. A couple of more questions. Are we still okay? You still have enough energy to answer? All right, let's give it a go. The question would be as follows. Do e-learning strategies actually differ from company to company, or maybe they should be different?
They do. They definitely do. We are all different. We are working in different industries. We're from different companies. We're different people with different experience, again, different level of experience and expertise. So it can be, like both companies are from the healthcare industry, but the company size is different. And of course, the learning strategy will be different because one company, the first company has 4 departments and the second company has 10 departments. So again, in my opinion, I think that e-learning strategy, it's always different for each and every company.
And according to your experience, which would be the most difficult type of activities to start with?
I love this question. Okay. So when you mean when you start a learning initiative, what is?
Yeah.
Again, it's a deep philosophical question. In my opinion, the most difficult thing is to realize that you are ready to go with it, that you are ready to start with it, you're ready to put your time, your effort into this initiative, and you're ready to face challenges and roadblocks. So this is the toughest thing. It actually comes together with the second part, to make the top management certain that this will work. I'm ready for it and I will make it work. So let's say 2 the most difficult parts when you start such an initiative. Yeah.
We have a very important question in the chat, Natalie. I'm really thrilled and excited as well myself. I was thinking about that, but I didn't have enough guts to ask you. But since our colleagues and attendees are asking, then I have no moral choice apart from asking this. Your t-shirt has some coordinates or numbers or whatever. Does it relate to your LinkedIn, or what is that all about? Or maybe this is somehow related to iSpring official tax-paying number, or what is that?
Nothing like that. Just some coordinates, nothing more.
Sounds great.
Don't pay attention on this.
Okay, okay, very well. Then, Natalie, thank you very much. I believe people are really waiting for the list. They said that would be very helpful, and they are looking forward to receiving this message from you. Also, we have received quite a number of answers to your last question, which we didn't have a chance to discuss during the actual session. So I'm so sorry. Please accept my apologies, Natalie, and everyone who have provided the answers. But I'm sure it was engaging for the audience. So let's then call it a day for you, Natalie, and I am looking forward to hearing more information from you next time during the other webinars or during the other conferences. I'm sure this is not the last one. Would you like to highlight something in the very end, like a final line or a summary of the most important things that you want the colleagues to carry away from your session?
Yeah, just a couple of words. Implementing the learning and making any changes in people's strategy can be tough, and you all know that. But there is no doubt that employee training plays a significant role in every business success. I always say that people are the most powerful and irreplaceable resource, and it's vital to contribute to staff development. So if any of CEOs listening to me, just keep them in mind. So such initiatives should be thoroughly planned and discussed step by step, understanding how things are going now, setting goals, aligning them at all company levels, sharing experience, and measuring success, of course. It's critical. Yeah. So these are like my final words. Really appreciate you being so active. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you, Chris, for hosting my session, my part of the session. So yeah, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yay. Thank you so much, Natalie. I have lots of comments in the chat about your answers being really great and about the words of thanks to you. So again, many, many thanks. I would love to join these comments on behalf of our participants, and we'll be moving on. Last but not least.